All righty, welcome to the virtual college exploration STEM days in partnership with Cachet. This is the Bucknell University information session, so thanks for joining us. Before I pass it over to Ben with Bucknell, I'm going to start us off with some housekeeping items. If you haven't heard these yet, first and foremost, we have more sessions available through tomorrow evening with Cachet. So if you're interested in continuing to connect with colleges and universities, please check back on our schedule. And when you do register for these sessions, you do get a barcode in that confirmation email, but know that that barcode is not necessary for any of the virtual events that you participate in. All recordings will be available on our website as well shortly after the session concludes. So whether you want to rewatch a session you participated in or watch one you may have missed, just check back on our website for all of those recordings. And then you'll notice that you will see and hear Ben. Unfortunately, he cannot see or hear you all. This is webinar style format. So any questions you have throughout the presentation, feel free to type those in using the Q&A box, and Ben will do his best to address those throughout the presentation and do some live Q&A towards the end. So I'll pass it over to you, Ben. Take it away.
All right. Let me, all right. Well, good evening. My name is Ben Cavanaugh. I'm an Associate Director of Admissions at Bucknell. I've been here for, I actually start my 15th year at the end of the month, which is surreal that I've been here so long. It's a wonderful place. Certainly a wonderful community. We actually started the first day of move-in today. So I think despite the pandemic, there's still a palpable sense of enthusiasm on campus. It's fun to see the orientation assistants in their bright orange shirts welcoming new students to campus. They're just, of course, all wearing masks and keeping their distance. This has always been, I think, a very existential process in terms of trying to figure out what do I want to spend 4 years of my life. And of course, the pandemic doesn't help. Obviously, I'm biased. I've been at Bucknell a long time. I think this is a tremendous place. I think part of what this process should be about is not just looking at facts and figures. It's not just looking at pictures, although the pictures we have here are quite pretty. It's also about asking yourself, well, what do you expect out of college? What are you hoping to get out of it? What kinds of people are you hoping to meet? What kinds of experiences are you hoping to have? What kinds of questions are you hoping to have answered? What kinds of problems do you want to have solved? How do you picture yourself 10, 15, 20 years from now as a result of attending an institution like a Bucknell? I think these are the kinds of questions that help frame the argument. And of course, these aren't questions that you're going to answer instantaneously. Hopefully you'll spend, in some cases, the bulk of your college career answering them. In some cases, you'll spend hopefully the most of your life trying to answer them. But we are a unique institution. We are classified with the liberal arts colleges, which may be unusual in terms of those schools that are represented here. We're about 3,600 students in total. Most of our students, even this year, live on campus. It's a highly residential place. What's unusual is given the size, most of our liberal arts peers have one undergraduate college. We actually have three, arts and sciences, engineering, and management. I think what the liberal arts model does is really emphasize a couple things. First, it emphasizes undergraduate instruction, undergraduate experience, undergraduate education. Of the 3,600 students, we have maybe 150 that are in grad school. So the overwhelming majority of our students are undergraduate. Every class at Bucknell is taught by a professor. We don't have any teaching assistants teaching classes. So you not only have people that are experts in their field that are leading the class sessions, but they also relish being mentors. They relish teaching. They want to get to know the students. They're going to push you. They're not going to make things, simplistic, but they want to see you do well. They're invested in your success. Because of that, the professors insist on smaller classes. Our average class size is 20. We teach over 700 classes a year. We have maybe 45 that have more than 40 students enrolled. So when you have smaller classes and people that are dedicated to teaching, leading them, I think it creates a different experience. Liberal arts is a weird term. I mean, you know, you can parse it in a few ways. I mean, people often look at the liberal part and they go, well, I'm not political in science, like, first to that. Or they look at the arts part and go, I'm not really creative. But it doesn't really refer to that either. I mean, from our perspective, again, we're emphasizing undergraduate education. We're also emphasizing a breadth in that education. So regardless of what you major in, we want to expose students broadly. We want to give them opportunities to take classes in different subjects. We don't see our curriculum as, well, the first 2 years are, you know, kind of the prerequisites that we're trying to weed people out with in the last 2 years, or the important major and minor classes. You know, every class is an important one. Every class is an opportunity to discover something about yourself, or maybe find a new subject. You know, when you have nearly 60, actually over 60 majors now, over 70 minors, you know, there's just a larger breadth of opportunity in terms of the courses you can take here. So we want students to be able to leverage that and to take advantage of that. But also, you know, you want students to understand there's not one way of looking at the world. There's no academic discipline that has a monopoly on knowledge. You know, it's really about putting people together with different disciplinary perspectives and having them interact, having them sort of bounce off of one another. Now, our largest is, there we go. Our largest college is the College of Arts and Sciences. It's been around with us since our beginning in 1846. About 60% of our students enrolled in arts and sciences. We've got majors you'd expect to find in a liberal arts institution, things like, you know, English and neuroscience and, you know, biology, and of course, the greatest major you could possibly hope to major in, history, which was my major in college, by the way. Look how well that turned out. But we also have majors you don't expect to find at a school of our size, things like neuroscience and animal behavior. The most popular major is actually a double major. So we end up with about 25% of our students who have more than one major. So most of the degrees, and certainly almost all of them in the College of Arts and Sciences, require 32 credits to graduate. So a typical load would be 4 classes each semester. Each class is equivalent to 4 semester hours. So there's an elegance there. But as I said earlier, we have 700 classes. You only need 32 to graduate. So I think one of the joys, if I can use that word, in our curriculum is going, well, there's way more classes that are of interest than I can actually take. So again, I think it really emphasizes the importance of those classes. We spread core curriculum throughout your time. You're not just taking core your first 2 years, you're taking core throughout. And you'd be also able to take classes in your major and minor throughout your time here. So again, you know, the emphasis on smaller classes, personalized selection, broad range of majors. You know, I think that's kind of the hallmark of arts and sciences. But, you know, many of our peer institutions in liberal arts would stop here. But we have 2 additional colleges. Our second one's the College of Engineering. We've actually been teaching engineering courses at Bucknell, you know, since the 1890s. So in a sense, we're one of the oldest engineering institutions as well. We actually limit engineering to 20% of the student body. That's intentional. I think to hear our professors in engineering tell it, you know, our goal is not to be the largest college of engineering, it's to try to be the best. Certainly it's to try to be student-centered. I think the emphasis there right away is building a sense of community, building a sense of collaboration, building a sense of teamwork. Because, you know, it's not Tony Stark, you know, in his basement trying to build a new iteration of the Iron Man. So, although I mean, there's probably someone on campus that's doing that. You know, it's the collective. It's you never have enough budget, you never have enough time, and you're solving a problem that's often never been solved before. Otherwise, it would be history. Just look at what people have done previously. So, it's incredibly creative work. You know, it's also work that can't be done by yourself. I think we try to emphasize that teamwork from the first semester. Every engineering student will take Engineering 100. So you're actually placed with your entire sort of entering engineering class. And of course, we split those sections off into smaller groups, allowing you a more tailored approach and also more, you know, reasonable teams. But you really get to know people when you're sort of working on projects. So everyone in Engineering 100 gets exposure to all 8 of the engineering disciplines, and you do project work in 3 of them. And, you know, I mean, certainly the class was designed certainly as a retention issue, because we want students to get a sense right away this is what you're going to be doing for the next 3.5 years, 4 years. This engineering, this is what the work's going to entail. If you don't like it, it's probably, you have 3.5 years to sort of figure out what's next. But most students, the overwhelming percentage of students who start off in engineering stay because of this class, because they understand, despite the challenges that are inherent with the College of Engineering or any engineering major, you're not in it by yourself. You've got professors that care. Our student-teacher ratio at Bucknell is 9-to-1. So you're being taught by the same people that you have an opportunity to do research with. And also there's an emphasis on public service as well. The picture in the middle here, this is actually, these students are building this card that they're going to use to teach engineering to high school students, robotics to high school students. So they want to do a good job because they want to, promote the work to the next generation. And of course, when I say research, it's not just something that's done in STEM fields. You can do research across the curriculum. We actually have our most lucrative scholarship, the Presidential Fellowship, actually comes with a research opportunity that you'll be paired with a professor from your first semester in an area of your interest and be able to do research right away. But, given our size and given the fact we don't have PhD students, we have very few master's students, and professors are expected to publish. And of course, people become professors in part because they want to create new knowledge. They want to discover new things. But they also need help doing that. So there are plentiful opportunities as an undergraduate student to be able to do research. Often it's as easy as a conversation or an email. It doesn't even have to be the department that you're in. We've had, I remember a few years ago talking to one of our astronomy professors and them noting that their top student researcher that year was a philosophy major. So philosophy students can do astronomy research. I think the sky's the limit here. Okay, maybe slight pun intended. So our third college is the College of Management. And again, this is a college that we limit to 20% of our student body. It's actually our newest college. We've created it in the last few years. We've been teaching business courses in some form or fashion for the last century. And again, the nomenclature is important. We say management and not business, not that we don't believe in profits and losses, but we really want to emphasize the human element. And I think something else they also want to emphasize, again, is that real world experience. They have a class called Management 101, which actually was based on Engineering 100, where they go, let's do the same thing. Let's have a real world example. Let's give students a seed fund, let them create a business, and then take the profits from that business and create a service project for a local charity. So right away, first year, the students are getting a sense of this is what work is like, this is what the field's like. They're getting a real world experience, but also getting a chance to give back. And I think that's important. I think something else the College of Management would want me to note is that the interdisciplinary nature of the majors. We have things like markets and innovation design, which takes the traditional marketing major and infuses it with a design element. In fact, we're actually building a new management building, and the art department is moving in with them because of the success of that particular major. Also things like global management, where again, you're sort of taking ideas that are traditionally outside of a college of business or management and infusing those into the college. Now, many of you, I would assume, were probably interested in STEM. You're thinking, can I major between the colleges? Can I do management and engineering or management and arts? Or engineering and arts and engineering and management? You can. Our emphasis, especially with engineering, is getting students graduated in 4 years. So it's a 5-year, but you do get a double degree out of it. So it would be something you would apply into as a first-time freshman. So you can do a 5-year engineering management or a 5-year engineering arts. And arts is not just sort of things connected with arts. It's anything that has a BA element. So most of the majors at Bucknell, even the science majors, have a BA version specifically for students who want a double major. But I think regardless of what you major in, what we're trying to emphasize are skill sets, obviously critical thinking, the ability to communicate clearly and persuasively, to be collegial, that we can disagree, but still, not be at each other's throats, that we're comfortable with complexity. We learn how to learn. These are the things that you ultimately take with you after college. You're rarely going to have someone come up to you on the street and ask you to solve a complicated calculus problem or ask you what the the capital of Albania is. But those are the kinds of skill sets that you develop in college, and those are the things that help you. But not every skill set that will be useful in life is developed in a classroom setting. There's other skill sets, ideas of leadership, ideas of service, ideas of creativity, ideas of empathy, collegiality. We can never have too much of that. So we feel the best way to develop the whole student is in a residential campus. So nearly 90% of our students live on campus. It's a very active place. We have over 175 clubs and organizations, and we encourage students to get involved in things. That's the thing. We want you to feel connected to Bucknell. We want you to feel connected to campus. We want you to make friends. You know, we want you to feel that this is your home. And that's one of the great ways to do that, is to help sort of build your network, because the more people I think that you have come in contact with, that you get to know, that you become friends with, the more the institution feels like it's a part of you, the more you feel at home. And I think that's something our students relish regardless of what they major in. We're members of the Patriot League. You can see in the upper right-hand corner here, basketball has been our glamour sport in recent years, men's and women's. A lot of success in the Patriot League. We're also in the top 5 in graduation percentage, which I think is also just impressive. But there's, you know, this is certainly one of the things we miss because of the pandemic. When Soika Pavilion is full and the students are chanting Ray Bucknell and we're destroying whoever we're playing in the Patriot League, you know, it's a great night. It's a wonderful night. And you know, we're going to miss our fans being there. And I think what's great about especially basketball is we get so much support from the community. You know, to see your neighbors coming out and supporting the team as well as the students is fantastic. Probably wonder, why do you have this picture of Anderson Cooper? Well, we also believe in having interesting people come to campus and talk about their lives and talk about their experiences. So we have several speaker series. This is part of the Bucknell Forum, and you've probably seen the sign. Yeah, actually, Anderson Cooper was on campus 3 weeks after the last inauguration. And yeah, it was great to quiz him about sort of the events of the day. I think at that point, he just had some sort of spat with Kellyanne Conway. But it was, I think, just as interesting to hear about his story, how he got into journalism, his philosophy. I was struck when he said, you know, I'm not trying to make friends. I'm not trying to become friends with these people. I'm trying to find the truth. And I love those evenings when students come out of them. You can hear them talk about, you know, maybe I hadn't considered journalism, but you hear someone like that talk about how personal the work is to them. Then it gives students, I think, a different perspective. When you can inspire and you can inform as well, I think it creates the kinds of experiences that hopefully you go to college for. But again, there's a lot to do on campus. Being a residential campus, it's impossible to do everything that's scheduled. Even during the pandemic, we're still going to have activities. I mean, I would imagine a lot more will be outdoors, and of course, you know, maintaining social distancing will also be extremely important. Something else I think, you know, we believe in, you know, in the past we were criticized for, you know, being in a bubble, which now suddenly has become the thing that you want, right? You want to be some level of protection, but I think the bubble can also be intellectual as well. You know, we want our students to be prepared for the world. The world is broader than our campus. I mean, it's important that we have an environment where students can focus on being undergraduate students, working on themselves, becoming the people they want to become, but we also want to prepare them for what's out there. So we do this in a couple of ways. I think once, you know, we realize that we're very blessed. We've been blessed with a lot of great resources, a lot of great people. And also, you know, when you're in a small town in central Pennsylvania like we are, you know, community it just hits different. You know, just the notion of community, what it means, what your neighbors mean, it's different. So, you know, we want to help out our neighbors. So we're very big on service. You know, we assist dozens of local and regional charities. Our students donate tens of thousands of hours of their time every year helping out the local community. We're such big believers. We actually have courses called Service Learning. The Management 101 was an example where we sort of build service into the curriculum. So we're very big believers of that. We're also very big on study abroad. Nearly half our students are going to have some kind of travel experience. Hopefully, by the time you would start to do study abroad, and it's typically junior year, you know, the conditions in the world will have greatly improved. But we have over 500 approved programs. We have programs we run ourselves. I think if you were to ask, especially recent grads, like, what was your most transformational experience? You know, study abroad would tend to be right at the top of the list. So it's definitely something we encourage students to look at. And also, I think it's special being in central Pennsylvania. Lewisburg's a lovely town. Campus is right next to town. So the center of, to travel from our freeze hall, which is the admissions building, which is on the same quad as sort of the library you see in my background here. To walk from there to our bookstore, which is on the corner of Market and 4th, that's about a 15-minute walk. So we're right in the heart of Lewisburg. It's a lovely town. We actually own several of the buildings because we were such big investors in it. This is our bookstore. When I moved to Lewisburg, it was like it was kind of a thrift store. There was like an Austrian restaurant, which isn't really the most popular concept. It wasn't really doing well. So we bought the building. We spent something like $10 million restoring it, moved our sort of flagship business downtown. It's been a wonderful sort of boon to Market Street and to downtown in general. We did a similar thing with the campus theater. It's been open since 1942. It's this beautiful Art Deco theater, single screen. So actually, when we teach film classes and we do the screenings for those film classes, that we actually host them at the campus theater. That's free of charge to the public. So, and they have a lot of interesting. It's not just sort of the Film 101. I remember a couple of years ago, we had a professor who did a course on the history of horror film. So, you'd go there and you'd see like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And of course, it's a class. So, students also, there's concession stands running. There are a lot of classes where you get to drink Coke and eat popcorn during the middle of it. And again, the sort of landscape is gorgeous. We have a rail trail that actually connects in Lewisburg. It goes about 10 miles to the west of us. So biking, hiking, running, all these things are very popular. We're also on the Susquehanna River, so that's a popular spot for canoeing as well. But I think it's also you have to think about what comes next. Return on investment. It's not a phrase that a lot of us admissions folks like to use, but I think it's certainly something a lot of families are thinking about. What are the guarantees that 4 years at Bucknell are going to lead to a lifetime of success? Well, there are no guarantees, but I think we do bake into the Bucknell experience life after college. So as a Bucknellian, every sophomore is going to be encouraged to do an externship. Our career development office will help students find internships, job placement. We have over 50,000 living alums. So you have access to alumni database. Bucknellians, you'll find pretty quickly, love to network with Bucknellians. They love to connect. So we have a host of services. We have hundreds of companies interview through our office. But I think something we also like to emphasize, and this is even for STEM majors, it might be hard to believe, what you major in is not necessarily your career. I think that's a good thing. If you look at, this is an example of 3 of our alums. If you look at what people major in and what they do, it's not always a linear thing. And I think that's good because it means that students, regardless of major, have a wide range of opportunities, in large part because of their attendance here. I'm a big film geek. Bill Wesson won 2 Oscars for special effects. Computer science and engineering, probably not the most linear path into that. His special effects, he's very good with animal effects. So he won an Oscar for Golden Compass and another one for Life of Pi. So the work that he does now, frankly, when he graduated in 1990, didn't exist. Special effects before 91, when Terminator 2 comes out, were basic. I mean, they look really bad now. They're kind of hilarious. So, but I think he credits his Bucknell education with him being able to sort of find his way into this new emerging field where suddenly it was computers that were important to be able to create these. Now the effects are incredibly realistic. So. But again, these are 3 of our most esteemed graduates that have done really interesting things, and the majors that they had didn't necessarily sort of correlate with their particular career. And again, I think that's something that is okay. Let me skip through this. I think we're running a little behind. So the application process. My least favorite question, frankly, in the application process is, what's the one thing I need to stand out in the process? And that's not how this works, because it's a holistic process. We do look at everything. There's 3 questions I'm trying to answer of any applicant, especially engineering. I'm the vertical manager for a College of Engineering, so I read a lot of engineering apps and make a lot of engineering decisions. I mean, the first question I always have is, can you do the work? If you can't do the work, then it's like the other 2 questions don't matter. So how do we determine if a student can do the work? Grades are huge. Many institutions are test optional. Actually, we are one of them. But there are no institutions that are really grade optional. There's a reason for that. You know, the biggest correlation, I think, between high school and college in terms of success are grades. So we pay a lot of attention to grades. But just as important as grades are strength of schedule. So we're looking at grade trends. We're looking at, as your courses become more challenging, how competitive were your grades, right? Strength of schedule specific to your school. Not everyone's got the same opportunities, but, you know, we're asking the question, can the student walk into, on day one, can they walk into our core calculus and core physics classes and be able to be successful? And that's a very engineering specific thing. So, but we're not just ignoring the other courses as well. To me, what I'm looking for in a transcript, you like to see 20 solids. You like to see the schedule getting stronger each year. Hopefully the students taking their strongest schedule senior year. It's a red flag to me, frankly, when I see students taking less rigorous schedules senior year than junior year. It's also a red flag when I see students taking less classes. Senior year is not the time to cut down to a part-time schedule. Of course, the pandemic complicates everything, and you know, I think in some cases, you know, students may not have as many options as they did previously. But you know, we want to see students challenge themselves. We want to see students leveraging their opportunities. I think the students who do best at Bucknell are the ones who are looking to leverage opportunities. I didn't mention testing. There's a reason for it. Like I said, we're test optional, and that means exactly as it says. You have the option to submit testing. If you submit testing, we will consider it with other things, because we're also looking at sort of, you know, your essay. We're also looking at the counselor recommendation letter. If you don't submit testing, we'll act like the concept doesn't exist. Like I said, we've got lots of other data points to consider. Did we admit students last year who did not submit testing? We did. Did we admit students into engineering and physics who did not submit testing? We did. Did we give merit scholarships to students who did not submit testing? We did. So, you know, again, I think it's up to you whether or not you want to submit testing. If you feel like it highlights, it emphasizes something that's strong for you, then, you know, that's when you think about it. But again, there's other questions. Second one is, will the student thrive on campus? It's a residential campus, so you want students who have engagement outside the classroom. So we look a lot at activities, and this will be one of the biggest things that will be impacted by the pandemic. There will be, you know, if you're playing a varsity sport, you may have had your season canceled. It may be more difficult to have. So I think we'll make adjustments. We'll have to make adjustments in terms of, I think a lot will also matter in terms of what you intend to do in college. We have both the Common App and the Coalition App, and I think on both of those applications, you can indicate what are you likely to get involved in college. So that we'll probably put more stock in that. As we imagine, activities are going to be impacted. But you're also looking at things like recommendation letters. Hopefully for you seniors, you've already asked teachers for rec letters. The best teachers, frankly, are ones that teach you junior year. I think a tactical mistake I see a lot are students who ask teachers who taught them senior year for the first time. And, you know, teachers are writing letters whenever they can fit them in their schedule. So I've seen rec letters written as early as mid-October. If your school starts Labor Day, that's not going to be a lot of experience. The best letters give us a sense of what you're like in the classroom. What kind of student are you? Are you teachable in a sense? Are you coachable? You know, how do you respond to setbacks? What do you bring to a classroom setting? You know, do you make incisive comments in class discussions? You know, those are things that are useful to us. The counselor is a different thing altogether. The counselor letter is, well, what's kind of your global reputation? What do people at the school think of you? How do you sort of compare to your class? Again, that's going to be another challenge of the pandemic, is getting that face time with the counselor. I think, you know, schools are going to schedule Zoom meetings online, but what you miss out on is this kind of casual drop in, you know, talking to people that, you know, at many schools you're able to do that sort of thing, building the rapport with the counselor. So I think it becomes a bigger challenge. And again, I think we'll have to make adjustments and accommodations in reading letters. And the third thing we look at is how competitive are you in the major? Because we read by territory. My territory, by the way, is all of New England except Connecticut, and also upstate New York. So I read about 1,000 applications a year. But we admit by major. So if you're at all interested in management, you have to apply directly to that college. If you're interested in engineering, it's heavily recommended you apply to the College of Engineering. We have a part on the application where you can, we ask, well, why the major? Why the major? It's not an essay because it's only 250 words, but this is useful information. If you're not that sure about your major, you have the option, you have a couple things. You can apply undecided within any of the 3 colleges. You also have the option to list a secondary major, though in fairness, we use secondary major more with students who are applying in one of our early decision rounds than we do in regular. But it's an option, it's something that's there. And again, that's something you can also clarify your interest in the majors in the why the major section. Now our deadlines for admissions are the same for financial aid. Early decision round 1, the deadline's November 15. Yes, and early decision round 2, the deadline's January 15. We typically have answers back within a month. Regular decision deadline's also January 15. We have answers back by the end of March. We do offer financial aid and scholarships. The CSS profile and the FAFSA will need to be completed. The CSS probably takes a little bit more prominence over the FAFSA. One of the great reforms of recent years is you can actually start filling out financial aid paperwork now. Anything you can do now before you really get into the heavy work of your semester is always, I think, helpful for students. We also have a scholarship application. You can choose which scholarships that you want to apply for. We actually just made a change today. Last year, we limited you to only up to 3 of our scholarships that you can apply for. This year, we have removed the limit. So any of the scholarships you feel on our scholarship application that are appropriate, you can apply for them as you like. Our scholarship application should go live sometime by the end of the month. Now, in terms of applying, there's really no advantage to being the first person to finish the application. We aren't really going to start reading applications until usually until early November, and we'll read applications and deliberate on them again until the end of March. This is our campus. This is sort of the tour that people would typically take, but since we're online, I'll instead see if there's any questions that people might want to ask of me. We've got about 15 minutes left in the session, so if anyone has any questions that they want to ask, I can take them now. Or I could tap dance for 10 minutes or so if need be. All right. Well, no questions as of yet. But I think, no, we have a question. Let's see. 2 questions. You can tap dance. I mean, it's not my best skill, but if I have to do it, I can do it. Does Bucknell offer Division I scholarships? We do, actually. We're in the Patriot League, which it's a fascinating league if you haven't had a chance to study it yet. It was modeled on the Ivy League. So when we started in the Patriot League, 30 years ago, there were actually no athletic scholarships, and certainly not for football. Now there's about a third of our sports, including football and basketball, that we do award athletic scholarships. They range in amount. It's really up to the coach in terms of, usually they have a set number of scholarships that they can give out. But we also have for athletics is a slot process. So basically, if anyone's interested in playing for any of our teams, the best thing to do is to contact the coaches. They'll typically ask for a copy of your transcript and a copy of your test scores. We still have to have the testing for the NCAA and for the league. And then they calculate an academic index. And then we in the admissions office do a pre-read to see if the student would be eligible to play. So, it kind of streamlines the process. But yeah, we do have sports that we offer scholarships for. Any idea if I'll be able to visit campus this fall? Yeah, actually, we had some limited visit options last 6 weeks. Yesterday was actually the last day that we had visit options. We're not doing any really for the first month. I think the hope is we'll be able to do a limited number starting in September. A lot of it's going to depend on, what the cases continue to look like in Pennsylvania. If there's any directives from our governor. Currently, we can't have more than 25 people in a room, so trying to maintain social distancing and also having that limit. But if, what we have done, we've got online tours. We're doing virtual visits. We have also, if you're on campus and we're doing a driving tour now, so you can just download on the app or actually on the website, and we do sort of a driving tour there. So that's something that's an option as well. Which sports? I don't recall offhand. It's not all of them. It's about, like I said, it's about a third of our sports. But yeah, the best thing to do is to contact the coaches directly. Oh, that's a problem. Can freshmen bring their cars? No, I think it's one of the things that sort of creates a great campus community is the fact that no, you can rent a zip car. We've done bus trips in the past, but no, first year students aren't allowed to bring cars because we want you to make friends. We want you to be part of the community. We want you to feel, this is your home, and it's difficult if people are going home every weekend to do that. It also means because first year students can't have cars that parking is pretty plentiful. They actually don't charge us for it. So it's staff members, which is a tremendous luxury. But yeah, it means that we have enough parking spaces for people that have cars. Clubs for engineering students, design courses. Well, you can't graduate with a degree in engineering without taking a senior design course. It's actually a requirement of the degree. In fact, in a field like biomedical engineering, you have to do research that you present at a conference as a requirement for graduation. It's one of the reasons why biomedical engineering is so small, because they want to make sure they have enough professors to work with the students' projects. But again, there's lots of opportunities. There's certainly engineering specific clubs as well. I know one of them, we toured the new engineering building last year. One of them's working on, they build cars for competitions, and yeah. So there's a number of engineering clubs that are available for students to participate in, and they're as you can imagine, they're quite popular. Does Bucknell have a sailing club? No, because the Susquehanna River is not very deep. So we do rowing, but it's not really a great sailing river. So yeah, it's not really something that we have. But like I said, we've got about 175 clubs and organizations. So there's a lot of stuff to do on campus. Research opportunities for professors. Are there other types of research programs through Bucknell? Yeah. We actually you can do a senior honors thesis, which is done senior year. And it's basically you work one-on-one with the professor. You sort of agree on a research topic, and then you spend the semester working on it. And that's the kind of work that can lead to, be a great entree into graduate programs. And it can also help sort of frame someone's work. I remember we had an intern in our admissions office a couple of years ago who was political science, and he did his research on sort of youth participation in the political process. And it was moving work for him. It was so inspiring. He's like, you know what, I want to follow up on this. I want to, the research I've done, I want to see it in the world. I've figured out ways we can get more young people involved in the political process. I want to see that. So he's like, I'm going to law school. He actually just finished his first year at USC Law. He's like, I want to get involved in California politics, and I want to make a difference. And I think that's great when you can have like a research opportunity that, helps sort of guide the path of your life. So that's available in any major. We also have an opportunity for rising seniors actually to spend the summer on campus. And basically, they get a stipend. We give them a room in the dorms. They get food allowance, and they basically spend 40 hours a week working on research project of their choice. And at the end of the summer, there's a big poster presentation. Again, this is open to any major. It's as you can imagine, STEM majors are probably overrepresented in that. But again, we emphasize research across the curriculum because, again, what is research if not the creation of knowledge? And understanding how knowledge is created in a field, I think, gives you an extra dimension. It's interesting to learn about what's on the frontier of my field. What are the questions people in my field are trying to answer? And I think it's also cool when you can sort of, we're a small enough place that, a lot of the research is interdisciplinary. And a lot of it's also, kind of in the public sphere. We had some chemical engineering students who connected with one of our professors to study sort of the effects of vaping. There really aren't a lot of studies about, they determined that, if you take vaping devices and sort of turn up the settings all the way, there's some serious carbon monoxide going on there, which is not something you want to inhale really at any time. So But it was interesting. It started as a sort of student project and became something that got published. And there was a lot. I'm friends with the professor who was part of the study, and there's definitely a lot of pushback from that community, from that industry. But again, it's important work, and it was really surreal to see her kind of get recognized for it. Let's see. Do you have a major in aerospace engineering? No, it's part of. I mean, certainly if you have a mechanical engineering degree, you can go into aerospace. There aren't a lot of places that have specific ABET accreditation in aerospace. I actually grew up in the Rocket City, Huntsville, Alabama. Aerospace engineers crawling around the place. And I think what they always tell me back home is that, if you had a mechanical degree, you could always work in aerospace, but it didn't really work the other way around. So, but we certainly have professors working on interesting projects. I know one of our mechanical engineering professors, Keith Buffington, used to be the dean of the College of Engineering. He's working on a program with the U.S. Army using robotics to try to figure out if we can create robots that will disarm bombs. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Hurt Locker, but it's a terrible job for a human to have to physically disarm a bomb, especially wearing the gear that you have to wear, and especially in the case of or conflict in the Middle East, you're in 120 degree weather trying to do that. It's really, I think that's part of what the film was about, was what kind of person goes into that type of work. So if you can get a machine to do it and not a human, then, you've really made things a lot easier for a lot of different people. So let's see. We have about 3 more minutes left. Love these questions coming in. Do you require SAT subject testing for College of Engineering? Yeah, we don't require subject tests for any college. It's not really been a part of our process. I can't recall ever being in committee, looking at an engineering student and having someone bring up their subject test. I think there's more than enough information in, transcripts, strength of schedule, grades, that sort of thing. I don't know if the testing gives. I will say that, especially in engineering, certainly you like to see lots of math and science preparation. But yeah, like I said, the goal is, can you walk into calculus? Can you walk into physics on day one? So typically you have to have at least pre-cal, I think, to be considered, because otherwise that's a pretty big jump. There's a varied coursework accompanying liberal arts, meaning a student will take classes between the college's different core. Great. Sciences are not taking 3 units of calculus, they're not taking 2 units of physics. It's a lot different. So I think, we do accept AP credit, we do accept IB credit. I think what a lot of our engineering students who end up coming here like the fact is, like, if they come in, they have courses that have been taken care of through AP, through dual enrollment, that they can take courses outside the College of Engineering that sort of fit their interest. They don't have to just limit themselves to the College of Engineering. One of the goals our Dean Patrick Mather has is what he wants. He's looking at it the other way. He's like, I want to get more students in arts and sciences and management to take engineering courses. So he's really looking at ways that he can make, because I think science literacy is huge, and I think we suffer when we're science illiterate. So he's looking at ways, how can I open up what we're doing in College of Engineering so it can be enjoyed and it can be used by people who don't have the same background. Like, can we come up with courses where you don't have to have, Calc 3 to be able to understand the work. So we're really excited about that. It looks like we're coming near the end of our time. I think we have time for one more question. Have there been many freshman deferments? That's the thing that surprised me. We haven't had a lot. Between the whole college, we've had about 350 students who deferred, which is equivalent typically to how many would do study abroad. You always have a number of students, about 10% to live off campus. So the numbers on campus currently looking very similar to past numbers. So I don't think it's going to impact admission numbers next year. And I think that's a positive thing. So, but I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I want to thank you for your questions. It looks like we've come to our time here. So, and I think Jen's going to come back on for some housekeeping notes. But thank you again for listening.
And thank you, Ben. That was great. Thank you for spending your evening with us and sharing this valuable knowledge. I know it's later at your time. But for those who are still on, just letting you know that as soon as you exit the Zoom webinar, you will be taken to a quick survey. 4 questions. We'd love to hear your feedback regarding this particular session. I will ensure Ben gets the questions that were submitted throughout the presentation, as well as your contact information, so the conversation does not have to stop here. And as I mentioned in the beginning, we will have sessions through tomorrow evening with Cachet, so feel free to continue to register for sessions, and our recordings will be available on our website shortly after the session concludes. So I hope everyone has a great morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in this world. And thanks again so much to Ben with Bucknell. Have a great evening.